Welcome to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. Hey, I'm your host, Brother Michael M. Hotep. It is Thursday, March 4th, 2021, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing well today. Well, it's been a very busy Thursday, and it's been a very busy week. I taught my online course on Wednesday because it's too tired to do it Tuesday. And it's getting ready for the show today, doing a lot of research. And then Friday, I'll be on Roland Martin Unfiltered. And then I have to do this show again after Roland Martin Unfiltered. So it's going to be a busy Friday as well. Okay, so on today's show, I saw this story back on February 28th from news1.com and did not get a chance to talk about it. And then I saw a story from AtlantaBlackStar.com dealing with this. So you remember a week or so ago, we talked about Raymond Wood. Raymond Wood was the New York City Police Department undercover detective who infiltrated Malcolm X's organization, the Organization of Afro-American Unity. And there was a confession letter that surfaced and implicated Raymond Wood. Raymond Wood implicated himself in helping to assist, according to him, unknowingly. He said he didn't know the NYPD was going to assassinate Malcolm, but talking about his involvement somehow in infiltrating Malcolm's organization. Well, his daughter has spoken out. There was an article from news1.com. Daughter of NYPD cop says letter naming FBI police as conspirators in Malcolm X's death is a fake. Her name is Kelly Wood. She said, I know that my father did not write this letter. I know that this is not his signature. And I know the envelope they're using to somehow justify that the letter was mailed is also a fake. Now, the family of Raymond Wood is saying that his daughter is estranged, and AtlantaBlackStar.com has an even more in-depth article from March 4th, 2021. So we'll talk about that some today. Very interesting developments there. And then we talked about this past Sunday, we talked about the movie The United States versus Billie Holiday, The United States versus Billie Holiday. And it stars Andra portraying Billie Holiday, jazz singer Billie Holiday. Andra Day, we know, won a Golden Globe Award for her portrayal as Billie Holiday. And, a lot of people like the show that I did Sunday, so go back and watch that. We dealt with the United States versus Billie Holiday and the war on drugs. The United States versus Billie Holiday and the war on drugs. That was from February 28th, 2021. You can watch all of our shows at The African History Network on Facebook, The African History Network on Facebook, and on my YouTube channel, Michael M. Hotep, IMHOTEP. So there was a article from the griot.com. Is actually an interview that the griot did with her. And in this interview from the griot, she talks about the trauma of portraying Billie Holiday. Andra Day revealed the trauma of portraying Billie Holiday. She said, I hated myself in that moment. So we're going to talk some about that. I've been wanting to deal with that story, but we ran out of time on Sunday's show. We did like almost an hour and a half on Billie Holiday. And I had another topic to get to. And the past few days haven't been able to squeeze this story in. And then also, what's big in the news is the U.S. Senate begins debate on the COVID-19 relief bill, the American Rescue Plan, after limiting the relief checks, after limiting who will get the $1,400 relief checks, and also adding new spending items. Okay, so we know the bill passed the House of Representatives. It's now in the Senate, debate in the Senate. Now, you have obstructionists like dumbass Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, who, instead of trying to help poor ass people in Wisconsin that voted for him, instead of trying to help them get the resources faster, this idiot implements a Senate rule and forces clerks of Democratic senators to read the entire 628-page bill on the U.S. Senate floor for hours, trying to stall and delay the bill. And at least 59% of Americans support the American Rescue Plan. You have Republican governors who support the American Rescue Plan, but you probably won't have a single spineless, gutless, worthless Republican in the Senate who will vote for it to help their own constituents. They're going to screw them over. This is an example of how elections have consequences. This is why come 2022 midterm elections, every traitorous Republican that's up for re-election in the Senate has to be voted out of office. They had an opportunity to somewhat redeem themselves in the second impeachment trial of Donald Trump, and they voted not to. Most of them voted not to impeach him. So this is an example of how elections have consequences. Republicans are seeking to delay a vote as long as possible. Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, this is the same senator from Wisconsin who blocked the Juneteenth bill in the U.S. Senate. So not only does he want to delay a bill to give white people who voted for him stimulus checks and give them aid and funding for vaccinations and funding for states and different things like this. Not only does he want to block that, but he didn't even want to vote for a Juneteenth bill to make Juneteenth a federal holiday and give white people the day off from work. You do realize if somehow a reparations bill comes up in the U.S. Senate, this dumbass will be voting on the reparations bill. Take a guess how he's going to vote on it. Take a wild guess how he's going to vote on it. Already in the Senate, the only black Republican in the Senate, Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, already said he's not voting for a reparations bill. If the black Republican is not going to vote for a reparations bill, how many white Republicans you think are going to vote for one? You do realize it's going to take 60 votes in the Senate to pass a reparations bill. Y'all do realize that, right? You don't even have 40 votes. I doubt if you even have 40. Because there's going to be some Democrats that are not even going to vote for it. You think Joe Manchin in West Virginia is going to vote for a reparations bill? Okay, whatever. So we'll talk some about Andra Day. We'll deal with the Senate bill, and we'll deal with the changes that were made. Now, a lot of people are freaking out about the changes and who's going to get the $1,400 stimulus checks. Look, if you make $75,000 or less, you're good. It's for those above making $75,000 or less. It's going to $75,000 or more. It's going to phase out faster. It really ain't that big of a deal. It's a $1.9 trillion bill. It really is not that big of a deal, the changes that were made. But what happened was you had moderate Democrats like Joe Manchin of West Virginia who wanted to limit and, as they say, make it more targeted who gets the relief. So as it stands, there probably won't be any Republicans that vote for the bill. It's 50 Democrats in the Senate, including Senator Angus King of Maine and Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont, because they caucus with the Democrats. So it's 50 Democrats, technically 50 Republicans. If you lose one Democrat like spineless Joe Manchin of West Virginia, guess what? The bill fails. So It's a $1.9 trillion bill. There's you're going to extend the weekly the federal unemployment insurance and increase it from $300 a week to $400 a week. The weekly federal unemployment insurance expires March 14th. That's in 10 days. So what is Biden going to do? Okay, he can't lose any Democrats. He has to get this bill passed in the Senate. It's time sensitive. So he agrees to adjust who gets the $1,400 stimulus checks. But it's a $1.9 trillion bill. The $1,400 stimulus checks is only maybe about $200 billion in the bill. So he made a good move, all things considered. So we'll talk about this because some people are jumping off. Some people are losing their damn minds over this. It's like, dude, it ain't really that serious. If you understand that if you make $75,000 or less, you're still gonna get $1,400. But the majority of the impact of the bill is not the stimulus. It's not the about 200 billion or 250 billion, however much the stimulus is the other like 1.7 trillion in the bill. That's the most important part. So we'll discuss that. Was there another story I was trying to get to? Well, that's enough for today. All right, so on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We deal with current events in history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, Kemet, to 22828. To sign up for our email newsletter, text the word Kemet, Kemet, to 22828. To sign up for our email newsletter. Also visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Sign up for our email newsletter there as well. If you like this type of information, you can support us. The Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App. Then also through PayPal, paypal.me /the AHN Show, paypal.me /the AHN Show, or at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can still register for the online course that I teach, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what it didn't teach you in school. It normally meets Tuesdays, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do it online. All the sessions, we do it live. You can ask questions in the class through the live chat. Now, I don't see you. Some people may, you can sit there in your pajamas, whatever, have your hair in curlers, whatever, So I think some people are afraid because they think I'm going to see them. No. Okay. But we do the sessions live and they're all recorded. So you can go back and watch them over and over again. I do a PowerPoint presentation. We have book references, articles. 2 weeks ago, my guest speaker was Dr. David M. Hotep, author of the book, The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence. And we talked about the research. We talked about the African presence in the Americas going back tens of thousands of years ago, and his 2 new books coming out. The First Americans Were Africans Revisited, which will be out late this month, March 2021. And he has a book coming out, Ali and Me, about his time working with Muhammad Ali as Muhammad Ali's nutritionist for his last 6 fights. Okay. So visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can register there. It's on sale, $80, regularly $130. As soon as you register, you can watch the class I just did this week and last week's class also. And you'll be ready for next Tuesday's class, okay? And we'll post a link here as well. All right, we're coming up here on the break. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm Michael M. Hotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, stand by, everybody. Stand by. Stand by. Share this broadcast on social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in also. All right, stand by, everybody. Let's see here. So how's everybody doing today? All right, stand by. We'll be back from break in 2 minutes. Okay, we'll post a link here for the online course. As soon as you register, you can start watching the class I did yesterday. Okay, let's continue. Let's see here. We'll be back from break. We're going to go to. Let me get ready for this next segment here. Okay, we'll deal with the Malcolm X story. Then we'll go to Andra Day. Oh, damn. You know what? That's what I wanted to look at. There, come on. What the hell is that? Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael M. Hotep. It is Wednesday, March 4th, 2021. And we are live. Hope everybody's doing well. You can give us a call if you have a quick question or comment, 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment, 313-778-7600. Okay, so I want to jump into this first story here. This is dealing with an update on what's going on with update on the story dealing with the letter from Raymond Wood, former NYPD detective dealing with the assassination of Malcolm X. Okay, so this was a huge story end of February. So there's an update to this story, and it is from, I first saw it from news1.com. Daughter of NYPD cop says letter naming FBI police as conspirators in Malcolm X's death is fake. Okay. So I was wondering was there going to be another shoe that drops in this story dealing with Malcolm's assassination and the letter? Okay. I was wondering if there was going to be another family member that spoke out. All right. So, and then there's a follow-up article from AtlantaBlackStar.com from March 4th, 2021. So 1 week after a bombshell letter accused the NYPD and FBI of conspiring to assassinate civil rights leader Malcolm X, another stirring implication has been made. Kelly Wood, the daughter of a deceased former NYPD officer, is speaking out about a letter that purports to show her father, Raymond Wood, was involved in the assassination plot. Now, Wood's daughter, Kelly, told NY1 that the letter is forged and called the release of the letter a slanderous act and a stain on the reputation that he worked so to protect. Okay. Now, I want to pull up the article here from, I want to pull up the article also here from news1.com. So we'll get that up here. So she said, I know that my father did not write this letter. I know this is not his signature. And I know the envelope they're using to somehow justify the letter was mailed is also a fake. All right. Now, I think there was also a response from Ben Crump as well. So we're going to get to that also. Now, Raymond Wood's nephew, Reggie, presented the information to Malcolm X's daughters, in hopes to submit it as evidence into his murder investigation. Now, last year, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, is Cy Vance's office, who's also investigating Donald Trump. Okay, so that's going to be really good. Last year, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office announced it would review new evidence, review the case following the release of an in-depth documentary detailing the conspiracy theories around Malcolm X's death. Now, in the letter, Raymond Wood reportedly said that he played a role in the assassination plot by arresting two of Malcolm X's security guards days before Malcolm X was assassinated. He was assassinated February 21st, 1965. In the letter, Raymond Wood said, quote, I participated in actions that in hindsight were deplorable and detrimental to the advancement of my own Black people. He said in the letter, my actions on behalf of the New York City Police Department were done under duress and fear. My actions on behalf of the New York City Police Department were done under duress and fear. Now, the letter also states that Thomas 15X Johnson, one of the men arrested in connection with Malcolm X's murder, was wrongfully convicted. Now, Malcolm X's family continues their fight to find out who was actually involved in the assassination of their father, who was killed 56 years ago. We know February 21st. The information, the press conference was the day before the anniversary of Malcolm X's assassination. So it was February 21st. Ayasa Shabazz, one of Malcolm X's daughters, said any evidence that provides greater hindsight into the murder behind the terrible tragedy should be thoroughly investigated. Now, Raymond Wood believes that her Kelly Wood, I should say, the daughter of Raymond Wood, Kelly Wood believes that her cousin, Reggie, is positioning himself in order to gain publicity for an upcoming book release. She said, quote, my father is not a coward. He would have never, ever asked anyone to speak on his behalf. After his passing, if he had something to say, he would have said it when he was alive. Okay. She said. So there's an article here from news1.com. We're going to pull this up here. This wasn't loading properly. And then there's a follow-up article from AtlantaBlackStar.com from March 4th. Now, this one here from news1.com is from February 28th, 2021. right, in the Black History Month. And we were so busy on the show, and we had to cover the story dealing with Billie Holiday on our Sunday show, that I did not get a chance to squeeze this story in. And I want to see if we can pull up this interview from uh, NY1 also. We're going to try to pull this up as well. I'm going to send you this clip, Shakita. Go ahead and cue this up for me, please. And then let's look at the article from AtlantaBlackStar.com. So the one from Atlanta Black Star says, daughter of ex-officer who claimed FBI and NYPD were behind Malcolm X's death, says letter is fake. Family says she was estranged from her father. Now, AtlantaBlackStar.com actually interviewed Kelly Wood. And this is I don't want to get to a situation of saying this person's lying, that person's lying, what have you. But I think everybody wants to find out the truth, find out exactly what happened to Malcolm X. If there is some inter-family dispute or something like that, it could be hard for a daughter to find out unpleasant things about her father, or whether the things are true or not. Just to have that out in public is natural for a daughter to want to defend her father, in general. Whether or not she's estranged, I don't know. Maybe she is. That's what the family are saying. Let me know when you have that clip queued up, Shakita. Just come on the air and tell me, because I don't have time to look at the phone. But the daughter of a now deceased, and let's pull this up here. We've got this. We'll turn on the screen share for this one here. So the daughter of a now deceased NYPD officer is calling the confession letter in which the ex-cop admitted the NYPD and the FBI were behind Malcolm X's death fake. Okay. She said, I know that my father did not write the letter. Kelly Wood told New York Channel 1. I know that is not his signature, and I know the envelope they're using to somehow justify that the letter was mailed is also fake. Now, so we know the letter was publicly revealed February 20th, 56-year anniversary of the assassination of Malcolm. I read the press release also on the air as well. They have a copy of the press release from Benjamin Crump's law firm. So there's a link to the copy of the press release in one of these articles as well. Now, in the letter attributed to former undercover NYPD officer Raymond Wood, he confessed that he had aided the department and the FBI in their joint effort to assassinate Malcolm X by ensuring members of his security detail would not be present during the speech Malcolm was given February 21st at the Audubon Ballroom, to make sure they were not present at Malcolm's speech, to manage door security on the day of the assassination. Okay. Now, under the direction of his handlers, this is what Raymond Wood said in the letter, the confession letter. And they have a copy of the letter here once again. It's dated January 25th, 2011. You can check it out. I don't have time to read through the whole thing again. But under the direction of his handlers, he said, I was told to encourage leaders and members of the civil rights groups to commit felonious acts. So according to the confession and according to the press conference on February 20th, it was more than just the Organization of Afro-American Unity, but it was also CORE, Congress of Racial Equality, and some other civil rights, Black Power organizations as well. Now, the letter purportedly was written in 2011, not to be made public until Raymond Wood's death. He died in November 2020 at the age of 87. Okay. So, but Kelly, do we have the clip ready? But Kelly Wood, Raymond Wood's daughter, claims the letter is fake and that it was forged by the man who delivered it to Malcolm X's family, Raymond Wood's cousin, Reginald Wood. Now, Reginald Wood was there at the press conference on February 20th. Okay, let's go to this clip.
Now, last weekend, a family member of a retired officer who is now deceased released a letter saying that the NYPD and FBI were involved with the assassination of Malcolm X. But now the daughter of that officer is speaking out exclusively to New York One. She joins us now to give her side of the story. Kelly Wood, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on behalf of my father.
Now, a cousin of your father is Ray Wood. His cousin, Reggie Wood, last weekend actually released a letter saying your father admitted to being involved somehow with the NYPD and helping with the murder of Malcolm X. You are very disappointed about that letter and that information.
I am. I'm disappointed in all the individuals that were involved in putting the letter out to the media. Most specifically, I'm really disappointed in my distant relative, Reggie Wood Jr. The letter is a fake. The envelope that they're presenting is a fake. My father is not a coward. He would have never, ever asked anybody to speak on his behalf after his passing. If he had something to say, he would have said it when he was alive. I'm certain of that. I knew my father very well. He was my best friend.
And why would your cousin then put this letter out saying it was mailed to him years ago that your father wanted to confess about his role and the NYPD's role and perhaps arresting security members of Malcolm X so that he wouldn't be guarded as he normally would?
That's a very good question. Unfortunately, I can't actually speak to his actions. What I can speak to, though, is just in my own personal opinion. Maybe he just wanted a little bit of attention or 15 minutes of fame. I believe that he was trying to assist in a bigger picture, something to do with Malcolm X's death and his daughters. Maybe he wanted to assist them, but hurting my father's reputation is not the way to do it.
And you're saying that your father was not involved. Your mom is still alive, and you had a conversation with her, correct? And you're saying your dad was not involved in this.
Right, correct. My mother confirmed to me, because again, this took place before I was born, the death of Malcolm X. He was not there. He was simply not there. That's the first thing she said to me. She said, how ludicrous is the letter admitting to him being someplace that he was not? They spoke of his handlers, and she said, yeah, his handlers were very specific. You are not to go out into the public. He had just been identified as the main undercover detective who broke the Statue of Liberty case. And because of that case, my father was the key witness in basically getting these two individuals, convicted, and they were not going to run the risk of having him there.
And that case was two men arrested who were affiliated with Malcolm X. Am I correct?
That is correct. That is correct. And so, my father was and still is a hero. He saved three national monuments: the Statue of Liberty, the Liberty Bell, and the Washington Memorial. And so, the Washington Monument, excuse me. And so, therefore, it is important that we remember who he is, and that don't let this, this slanderous act, be a harmful stain on his reputation that he worked so hard to protect, and he deserves all the notoriety that he.
And you're saying you don't believe your father actually wrote this letter at all?
I know my father did not write this letter. I know that is not his signature, and I know the envelope that they're using to somehow justify that the letter was mailed is also a fake.
And, you know, this is not the first time we've heard about Black officers being used to infiltrate the Nation of Islam and Malcolm X. And your father's name was mentioned years ago, but you're saying he would have done a video or he would have spoken up beforehand.
Yes, my father, if he had something to say about the incident regarding Malcolm X's murder, if he was involved in any way, he would have spoken up earlier. He would not have relied on, again, an unreliable individual such as Reggie Wood Jr., who my father at the time of his death did not think of very kindly. And he would have spoken up himself. And if nothing else, he would have allowed me to speak up for him.
And because he lived with you. He lived with you when he died just late last year. You guys lived together.
Yes, I was a caretaker. I took care of my father in the last year of his death. I was the one who discovered when he passed. You know, I walked in to find him unresponsive, and he literally, we were inseparable, and we had many conversations about his history with the NYPD. And, you know, there was a lot of things that I did learn that I did not know as a child because, again, he protected me. But my dad was a girl dad. Listen, he did things like birthday parties, and he went to vote at the local elementary school. He was not an undercover detective after I was born. Basically, his undercover years ended as soon as that Statue of Liberty case was revealed.
And finally, obviously, for Malcolm X's family, his daughters, they were there, and they said, look, the investigation should move forward. There are investigations. People have been arrested. But you know, what do you say to the daughters of Malcolm X finally, Kelly?
My heart goes out to you. And I'm so sorry because I know what it feels like firsthand what it feels like when you want just answers. You want to find out exactly what happened. Unfortunately, you know, diminishing my father's record and my father's history with the NYPD is not the way to do it. Find another way to get the answers that you need and the closure that you need. I support you 100%, but on this, with my father, I cannot.
All right. And the letter, they say Ray Wood said he apologized, but you're saying that letter is a fake and your father did not do it. Kelly Wood, yes. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, so that is from Spectrum News NY1. That is Kelly Wood, daughter of former NYPD Detective Raymond Wood, being interviewed about the letter that was revealed on February 20th, 2021 at the press conference. She's saying that the letter is a fake, is a fraud. Okay, now we'll post a link here to the full article from Spectrum News NY1 as well. We have a still picture up from that interview. So if we go and look at the one from, we go look at the article from AtlantaBlackStar.com, it goes on to say that the daughter of, so Reginald Wood, who was also the administrator of the deceased former officer's estate, said Raymond Wood and his daughter had a back and forth relationship and that Kelly Wood was, quote unquote, estranged from her father. This is according to Raymond Wood. Quote, the daughter was estranged from Ray Wood, and we'll pull this up here. The daughter was estranged from Ray Wood, and every time he tried to reconnect with her, she pushed him away, Reginald Wood told AtlantaBlackStar.com. Now, okay, I don't know whether it's true or not, whatever. That is what they're saying. Okay, I don't want to get involved in the whole family squabble back and forth, but, you know, I think people want to know, is the letter real? Is it not real? Was there a handwriting expert to examine the signature of the, because it was the letter was signed Raymond Wood. So was there a handwriting expert hired to examine the signature, what have you? Okay. So Raymond Wood added that in 2008, in a 2008 lawsuit, Kelly Wood, the daughter of Raymond Wood, I should say Reggie Wood added that in a 2008 lawsuit, Kelly Wood, daughter of former NYPD Detective Raymond Wood, quote, sued her own father, end quote, and asked for punitive damages, but he did not specify what the lawsuit concerned. Now, Reginald Wood provided a copy of his cousin's will. Reginald Wood is the cousin of Raymond Wood. The will was dated July 2009, in which Raymond Wood wrote that his daughter, referred to in the letter as Kelly Adams, quote, does not have any regard for my overall welfare or personal well-being. This is according to the will that was dated July 2009. Now, Wood went on to say that he was concerned his daughter would, Raymond Wood went on to say that he was concerned his daughter would attempt, quote, attempt to manipulate me or my property to meet her own needs, concerns, or desires. He requested that he be consigned to the care of Reginald Wood in case he became unable to care for himself. Now, Kelly Wood, the daughter, Kelly Wood, called the release of the letter slanderous, as you heard in the interview with Spectrum New York One. She called the release of the letter slanderous and accused Reginald Wood of forging it for his own gain as a ploy to get more attention for his upcoming book. Reginald Wood authored a book published, well, his book came out last month. It came out in the month of February. Reginald Wood authored a book published in February, quote, The Ray Wood Story, about his cousin's ordeal in relation to his undercover work with the NYPD. So Kelly Wood, daughter of Raymond Wood, is alleging that the cousin Reginald Wood forged this letter, forged this confession letter to bring more attention to his book that was coming out in February 2021, February 2021. The press conference and the revelation of the confession letter comes out the same month as Raymond Wood's book about his cousin, former NYPD detective Reginald Wood. Now, the daughter Kelly Wood is alleging that he forged this letter to draw more attention to his book. I don't know whether that's true or not, but that's what she said. Okay, so okay. All right. So he said he hopes the book will help people. Reginald Wood, the cousin, said he hopes the book will help people empathize with what he had to go through, what he had to go through and the sorrow that he had and the guilt and remorse that he had from this whole situation. The letter attributed to Raymond Wood, the NYPD detective, alleges he was directed by his handlers in the police department to get Walter Bowe, B-O-W-E, and Khalil Saeed, two key members of Malcolm X's security detail, to participate in the Statue of Liberty bombing plot, which ultimately resulted in their arrest just days before Malcolm X's assassination. Therefore, they couldn't be at the Audubon Ballroom in Washington Heights, New York, February 21st, 1965, to do security for Malcolm. Now, this does not explain the lack of presence of the NYPD there, though. Because when you go study Malcolm X's assassination, and when you watch the documentary, Make It Plain, because Make It Plain is probably the best documentary dealing with Malcolm X. They talk about how on the day Malcolm was assassinated, they say normally when Malcolm would speak in Harlem or the New York area, things like this, there would be a heavy presence of the New York Police Department there. But the day Malcolm was assassinated, that presence wasn't there. So you have to ask the question, why? So let's continue. Then we're going to get to this Andra Day story. You got the email I sent you, Shakita. So hopefully you have those two clips queued up about Andra Day. So Wood claimed he was inside the ballroom. Raymond Wood claimed he was inside the ballroom the day of the assassination and identified by witnesses, but his daughter challenged this idea, claiming her father had been publicly identified as the undercover officer involved in the Statue of Liberty plot and that it would have been too risky for him to be there. Okay, but still, now I've seen pictures that said that Ray Wood was there the day of the assassination. So we have to figure this out. We do. Okay. You know, I ain't got so much time, so much energy, but all right. So read this article here. Good reporting from my friends over at AtlantaBlackStar.com, Niara Savage. Support AtlantaBlackStar.com. You can subscribe to them. I think you still donate to them also. Daughter of ex-officer who claimed FBI and NYPD were behind Malcolm X's death says letter is fake. Family says she was estranged from her father. Okay. Now, I want to go quickly to this Andra Day story. So we got a lot of positive feedback from the show I did on Sunday, February 28th, dealing with the United States versus Billie Holiday. Now, there's an article from thegrio.com. Andra Day discusses her transformation. Andra Day discusses her transformation into Billie Holiday on Super Soul. She freed a lot of things in me, but she also talks about the trauma of playing Billie Holiday as well. Okay, she was interviewed by Oprah Winfrey. And is going to air Saturday, March 6th. Okay, let's go to this first clip, Shakita.
Feel like your life has already changed with the portrayal that you offered to the world of Billie Holiday, or it is about to change?
I think I will say the portrayal of Billie Holiday was extremely just paradigm shifting, was life altering. So I'm changed so drastically with the role alone. Had not all of this sort of happened on the heels of it. So I'm definitely, I don't think anyone, right, is the same that they would be 3 years ago. We were constantly growing, but she pushed me in a lot further and a lot faster than I think I would have gone. And then, on the heels of all of this, it's, I'm definitely busier. I didn't sleep much before, but I sleep less now. So yeah, I mean, generally, I think at home and with my team, I've been with the same people for a very long time, and I try to keep a really, just a normalcy when I'm at home with the family, with my mother, my cousins. And so, that part of it has not, also my family is like incredibly grounding all the time.
Okay, let's go to clip 2. The conversation continued with Oprah.
Maybe this role came from me was really to heal me and to shake me of this idea of sort of self-sabotaging, of feeling constantly unworthy, constantly inadequate because I didn't have the right education or I don't feel like I'm smart enough. She freed a lot of things in me, I will say.
And how did she do that? Is it just immersing in her story? Is it knowing the life that she lived and what she had to go through?
Yes.
And that is because...
I think that, first of all, yes, just the experience of her, but it's because she showed up. I think that's a huge part, is that Billie had these feelings. I'm sure she had fears. I mean, this woman's life was threatened every time she would get on stage and sing Strange Fruit, right? I mean, she was targeted. She was harassed. She lost her father to Jim Crow. She was raped at a young age. She was sent into a brothel by her mother. I mean, and then she was constantly abused by men. I mean, she had her fears, and she was a performer. So she knew what it was like to get on a stage and to be scared and terrified that the audience would not love you and you would not have that beautiful exchange. But she showed up. She showed up for us. She showed up. She sang Strange Fruit. She showed up. She integrated audiences. She fought against the government. She showed up every single time. I mean, she had such a, for lack of a better term, like an effort attitude towards, okay, I'm scared, but I'm here and I'm present. And I think that being her, I was forced to show up. I had to show up for this role. I had to show up for Lee, for my cast, for what God was bringing me there to do, for Billie's spirit. And so just her ability to sort of almost throw caution to the wind and to be present and to show up was really, really just transformative for me.
Okay. So check out the article from thegrio.com. This one is dealing with Andra Day discusses soul transformation into Billie Holiday on Super Soul. She freed a lot of things in me. Okay, this is from thegrio.com. All right, we're out of time here. Those watching on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, and our YouTube channel, Michael M. Hotep, IMHOTEP. Keep watching. We're going to keep broadcasting for a few more minutes. Remember, right now it's correct. Wrong behavior is not over till we win. Wakanda forever. Stay tuned for Pastor Greg Davis, and we'll talk to you tomorrow night. Peace. All right, stand by, everybody. Stand by. Okay, let's continue here. So you have it's two articles from the Griot. Yeah, the first one dealing with the interview with Oprah, and then the second one, she talks about the trauma of playing. She talked about the trauma of playing Billie Holiday. Okay, in the main article that I wanted to talk about. So Billie Holiday lived a really hard life. She died at 44 years old. Go watch the show that I did Sunday night. We did almost an hour and a half on Billie Holiday. It really dealt with a lot of history. Okay. So there's an article, Andra Day on trauma of portraying Billie Holiday. I hated myself in the moment. I hated myself in the moment. Now, the Grammy-nominated singer opens up about her starring role in the United States versus Billie Holiday. This is from February 26, 2021. So just a little background information once again on Billie Holiday. If you missed my show on Sunday. So Billie Holiday was born April 7th, 1915 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to teenage unmarried parents, Sarah Julia Sadie Fagan and Clarence Holiday. Billie Holiday's birth name was Eleanora Fagan, Fagan, Eleanora Fagan. And because, so let's see here. Jazz legend Billie Holiday poured her heart into each song, making each one her own with her own distinct style. She said, I'm going to sing like someone else. If I'm going to sing like someone else, then I don't need to sing at all. She saw her voice as a musical instrument, as she explained in Hear Me Talking to You by Nate Shapiro and Nate Hentoff. She said, I feel like I'm playing a horn. I try to improvise. What comes out is what I feel. Not only did she mesmerize with her voice, but Billie Holiday also lived a fascinating life filled with tremendous ups and downs. She managed to survive a difficult childhood, often left in the care of cold-hearted family members, and even spent time in a Catholic reform school before joining her mother in New York City. Before she found fame as a singer, Billie Holiday did whatever it took to survive, including working as a prostitute for a while. She became one of jazz music's great stars, performing with the likes of Count Basie and Artie Shaw. Billie Holiday even appeared in a film with Duke Ellington, Her great talent, however, was later diminished by bad relationships and alcohol and drug abuse, but she was also attacked by the federal government by Harry J. Anslinger, who was the first chairman of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, and he actually helped orchestrate her death. Okay, so be sure to check out the show that we did February 28th. You can watch all these shows are archived at our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network on Facebook, and Michael M. Hotep on YouTube, IMHOTEP. So if we look at this article here, and she talks, we know that Lee Daniels directed the movie, and Andra Day won a Golden Globe Award for her portrayal of Billie Holiday. But in this article from the Griot, she talks about it was prayer and faith. It was overcoming fear. I mean, it was jumping and trusting the process and trusting that I was there for a purpose and for a reason, she says. Now this was her first acting role. This was her first, like her first main acting role. She had played lounge singers, small roles as lounge singers in previous projects, but this was her first real acting role. She said it was a gargantuan team effort for people of incredible integrity and even greater talent. My cast really poured into me such a special way. Tasha Smith is my acting coach, and Tasha Smith's birthday was just a couple of days ago. From Tyler Perry fame. Tasha Smith is my acting coach and a great director, and really gave so much to me and just really prepared me for this. Let me go to this interview here. Let me see if we can get this queued up. This is Andra Day talking about playing Billie Holiday.
It was just rough to be in this space, to see a Black mother hanging from the tree, and to be in this space with all my beautiful Black co-stars, and to just think that at any given time this could have been, or could, unfortunately, with nooses being hung in the Capitol, be us. You know what I mean?
So she's talking about the lynching scene in the film. Okay, now I'm waiting for it to queue back up.
What were your first thoughts when you were approached about this film?
Well, I mean, my manager first brought it to my attention. So my first, not just thought, but my first reaction was really was no. It was like an easy no, too. And I assumed it would just be no and stay no, and we weren't going to do this because this was like a terrible idea. But I mean, initially I was just scared because I've never acted before. You know what I mean? I've done in high school and in middle school, I did some musical theater, but that's a far cry from doing a major motion picture and leading a cast of people. So so I was just, I just thought it was ridiculous to even consider me for the role without that experience.
What was the toughest scene to shoot?
I mean, as you can imagine, the lynching scene was incredibly challenging to shoot. You know what I mean? It was hard for multiple reasons. It was hard because of.
Oh, hold on just a second.
What we were actually talking about, the witnessing and looking at this actual lynching, even though it's a movie set, it's like, this is what a body looks like, and worse even, you know what I mean? As the song says, with the bulging eyes and the twisted mouth, and probably the smell of a body and burnt body, and and so it's it was just rough to be in this space, to see a Black mother hanging from the tree, and to be in this space with all my beautiful Black co-stars, and to just think that at any given time this could have been, or could, unfortunately, with nooses being hung in the Capitol, be us. You know what I mean? But that was difficult to see that, and to live in that space, and to understand what it would have been like. But also the thing that was difficult was that in order to fully emotionally realize what I needed for that moment, I had to grab from family trauma as well too. a lynching should be enough to get you there, but we are very familiar, unfortunately, as a people and as a community with this magnitude of loss, you know what I mean, and this magnitude of violence and orchestrated against us, and this type of trauma, and an even greater victory and resilience, but still, it is it's a fire to go through, you know what I mean, and so I hated in myself in that moment that I had been desensitized to violence enough that I had to pull on anything other than what was right in front of me.
All right. So she's talking about the trauma of portraying Billie Holiday. And she says the hardest scene to shoot for me was, as you can imagine, the lynching scene is incredibly challenging to shoot. In the article, it's a really good article here from thegrio.com. She said, and worse, even as the songs with the bulging eyes and the twisted mouth and probably the smell of a body burnt. Now, the iconic song "Strange Fruit" helped to fuel the rising civil rights movement at the time, and that made Billie Holiday a threat to the powers that be. Andra Day said, quote, "They do not like Black people, let alone the idea of Black liberation and equality or freedom or autonomy." And let me see here if we can pull up that section here of the article. Okay, let's flip over. Let me flip back over to this article here. Just bear with me for a minute. Okay, she said they do not like Black people, let alone the idea of Black liberation and equality or freedom or autonomy. And so Billie Holiday represented all of those things that they hated the most, that they've been taught to hate the most, that they chose to continue hating the most, and yet they had to stop or they had to silence her. And that's always been a goal. Now, Andra Day went on to say, but with the abolition of slavery, I mean, even with the laws that were enacted and vagrancy laws and all of those things, it's always been an attempt to sort of monetize Black bodies through the process of criminalization, as we've seen. So she was a threat to their established and their desired way of life. Now, Andra Day revealed that she had to pull from her own traumas to get to the right mental space to portray such pain, and that fact is troubling in itself. She said it was difficult to see that and to live in that space and understand what it would have been like. But also the thing that was difficult was that in order to fully emotionally realize what I needed for that moment, I had to grab from my family trauma as well. A lynching should be enough to get you there. So check out the rest of this article here from thegrio.com. Andra Day on trauma of portraying Billie Holiday. I hated myself in that moment from by Courtney Wills from February 26, 2021. Okay, I want to go to this last story here. This is dealing with the Senate starts the debate, the process on the $1.9 trillion COVID bill today. Thursday afternoon, March 4th, 2021, the Senate voted 5150 to advance President Joe Biden's $1.9 trillion COVID relief plan, with Vice President Kamala Harris casting the tie-breaking vote. Okay, and this don't happen without voting. This is what people have to understand. All those Simple Simon ass people telling you don't vote, that's ridiculous. Okay, politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, and the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties, their adoption, interpretation, and enforcement. This is what politics is. Politics impacts every aspect of your life, from the water you drink to the air you breathe to the food you eat. politics impacts all of that. Some people say we don't need to vote. We just need to do economic empowerment, invest in the stock market, and do like the Asians. Well, Asians been closing their businesses. 41% of African-American owned businesses went out of business as of April 2020 due to the COVID-19 economy. It's at least 50% that have gone out of business by now. That was April 2020. When you read the article from Forbes.com that came out August 2020, they're citing the report from the New York Federal Reserve. Well, hell, this is March 2021. Is at least 50% of Black-owned businesses that have gone out of business, maybe more than that. I wouldn't be surprised if it's more than that. So, yes, I'm all for economic empowerment. My degree's in business administration. That's a no-brainer. And I've managed Black-owned companies and taught entrepreneurship for 7 years. But you have to have a president in office whose policies are going to protect the economy that your Black-owned business relies upon to survive. You need people in the House and the Senate to pass bills that will protect the economy that your Black-owned business needs to operate, that your Black-owned business depends upon to survive. You have to have people who will protect that economy and expand the economy. Okay, so Madam Vice President Kamala Harris had the tie-breaking vote. Okay, so it's 51-50, because in the case of a tie in the U.S. Senate, the vice president gets the tie-breaking vote. So the people that tell you don't vote, they usually don't explain things like this to you, because most of the time they don't know it. Now, Republicans are seeking to delay a vote as long as possible. So dumbass Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin is implemented a Senate rule which is forcing Democratic staffers to read the entire 628-page bill. Usually in the Senate, they waive reading of the bill. But this idiot, Republican from Wisconsin, this idiot wants to slow down the process and get back at the Democrats. He's a conspiracy theorist as well. He needs to be voted out of office. I think he's up for re-election in 2022. He needs to be voted out of office. So Ron Johnson tweeted, yes, it could take 10 hours, but the American people deserve to know what's in the bill. Now, after the bill is read, Republicans can then hold up to 20 hours of debate and call for an unlimited number of votes on amendments to the bill, which could push the battle into the weekend. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democrat from New York, accused Senator Ron Johnson, Trump acolyte, Trump sycophant, of going to quote unquote ridiculous lengths to obstruct the bill, and said the Senate will stay in session, quote, no matter how long it takes, end quote, to pass it. With no Senate Republicans expected to support the package, Democrats are looking to pass the bill with a simple majority through the budget reconciliation process, 51-50. Simple majority. On Wednesday, NBC News reported that President Joe Biden had agreed to put new limits on which Americans are eligible to receive the $1,400 stimulus checks under the plan, after pressure from moderate Senate Democrats like Joe Manchin from West Virginia. Senate Democrats have also abandoned their push to include a federal minimum wage hike to $15 an hour, because it wasn't going to pass in the Senate with that in it. It was going to be much harder. Joe Manchin wasn't going to vote for that. You can't, there weren't going to be any Republicans to vote for the bill. You need all 50 Democrats to vote for it. If only 49 vote for it and Joe Manchin votes against it, is going to die. Now, this was after the Senate parliamentarian ruled it cannot be part of the budget reconciliation. Even if they overruled her, if one Democrat that votes against it, is dead, is over. That's just, it is what it is. Let's go to this clip here. COVID relief bill advances in the Senate without Republican support. Now, where are the Black Republicans that talk about how good their policies are for African Americans, because this bill is going to be beneficial to African Americans. Why are Republicans standing in the way of it? This bill is going to be beneficial to white Republicans in their districts. Why? Where are all the black Republicans on this?
The vice president votes in the affirmative.
Tonight, after Vice President Kamala Harris cast the tie-breaking vote to advance the COVID relief bill in the Senate, Republican Ron Johnson in a last-ditch effort to delay its passage, forcing the clerk to read all 628 pages.
Section 1, short title. Section 2, table of contents.
Senate Democrats mocking the move.
And if the senator from Wisconsin wants to read it, let everybody listen, because it has overwhelming support.
But after President Biden signed off on changes that would send direct payments to fewer Americans, individuals making more than $80,000 and couples earning more than $160,000 will now not get a check. Some progressive Democrats complain that compromise is a mistake.
Is it really worth saving 0.05% to have less checks go out? This doesn't make much sense to me.
Still, Republicans argue it's too expensive.
Count me out for a $1.9 trillion spend fest, unrelated to COVID, in a partisan fashion. This is everything President Biden said he wouldn't do.
At this pace.
Okay, now this is spineless Lindsey Graham that voted twice to acquit Trump in the Senate trial. This is Trump's golf buddy, spineless Lindsey Graham from South Carolina. Now, spineless Lindsey Graham from South Carolina voted for the it's about a $1.9 trillion tax cut back in 2017 for the billionaire donors. He voted for that. Okay. But this is an American Rescue Plan to help largely everyday people. Like, in South Carolina is one of the poorest states in the country. This will help a lot of poor snaggletooth Republicans in his own district that vote for him, in his own state that vote for him. Let's go back to this clip.
Pace, it'll take the Senate clerks 15 hours to finish reading the bill, but Democrats vow that will not stop them from voting to pass the relief plan this week.
Okay, so that's from NBC Nightly News from March 4th, 2021. COVID relief bill advances in the Senate without Republican support. So all these black conservatives running around who in 2020, November 2020 election, telling us we should vote for Donald Trump and Donald Trump's fool's gold plan, his platinum plan, and all this nonsense. Where are they? What are they saying about no Republicans voting for the COVID bill to help Americans, the American Rescue Plan? No, none of them vote for this? The obstructionists like Ron Johnson? Okay, so some people were talking about the change to the threshold for who would get a stimulus check. Okay, now we're going to go to this last clip here in just a second here. We'll go to this here in just a second. So when we look at some of the things that are in the bill, some of the changes taking place to the bill include boosting the healthcare subsidies under COBRA for jobless people from 85% to 100%, and making all COVID-19 student loan relief tax-free, said a Senate Democratic aide. There's also another $200 million for Amtrak, the train service, $510 million for homeless services under FEMA, and $175 million to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Let's go to this clip here. This talks about the changing in the threshold of who will get a stimulus check.
This morning, multiple Democratic sources tell NBC News that President Biden has signed off on modifying the income caps for those $1,400 relief checks that are part of the COVID relief package. That change comes as the Senate is set to take the first steps this afternoon toward passing the $1.9 trillion package. NBC's Garrett Hake back with us from Capitol Hill. And Garrett, again, more breaking news there on the Hill. Why have they decided to implement these new income thresholds? And most importantly, what's it going to mean for Americans who so desperately need those checks?
Craig, this was a request from moderate Democratic senators. Republicans have uniformly opposed this bill. They're going to continue to oppose it, likely even with this change here. What this says is the caps for how much money you can make and still be eligible for what would be a $1,400 check has now been lowered. So if we can put up on the screen, we put together a graphic here. Basically, if you're an individual and you make up to $75,000 a year, you're still eligible for that whole $1,400 check. But unlike in the House version of the bill, where that number started to phase out, it started to step down between 75 and 100,000. That step down now ends at 80,000. You hit that $80,000 cap, no check for you. Likewise, for people, married people filing jointly, heads of households, the numbers are a little bit different. But what you see here is this long kind of phase out period up to a higher income level has been shortened. I don't yet know if this is going to change the overall price tag of this bill. We'll probably find that out when the CBO releases its report later. But this is, again, moderate Democrats who wanted to more narrowly target the money that they were sending out to the folks who they believe need it the most. Also, the same sources tell us the unemployment provisions of the bill, which had been in discussion to be changed, those expanded unemployment provisions are going to stay the same at that extra $400 per week, Craig.
Were those moderate Democrats, Garrett, were they threatening to oppose the president's bill over this?
No, I mean, I don't think you could call it a threat to oppose here. But again, you have two different constituencies here. A House, which has generally more liberal members, and a Senate Democratic caucus with 50 members, some of whom more moderate, more conservative. And in a 50-50 Senate, Craig, everybody's got to get at least a bit of what they want, or these things slow down, they get messier. I don't imagine anyone, or even any small group of Democratic senators, were ready to oppose a priority that is so important to this president. But it's clear that there are concerns which they raised at both, some of them at a White House meeting earlier this week and at this full conference Zoom lunch meeting with the president were heard here.
Really quickly here, timeline now. When is this bill likely to hit the president's desk for a signature?
The goal is to get it to him by next weekend, by March 14th. They are still on track for that. As I mentioned, the CBO number here, we're waiting on that total score, the total cost of the Senate version of this bill before it can go to the floor. And then, Craig, we're looking at probably 2 very long days of debate and amendments before the Senate finishes. House has to vote on the Senate version. President gets a bill by late next week.
Okay. So check out that clip also. That's from MSNBC, Craig Melvin. That is from, we'll post a link here for you. You can watch that in its entirety. March 3rd, 2021. Biden backs lower income cap for direct payments in COVID relief package. Okay, so this graphic that I have up is from the actual clip from MSNBC to show you the changes that were made. Ain't that the changes that were made and who gets $1,400 stimulus check? It really ain't that deep. If you make $75,000 or less, you still get $1,400. It's $80,000 or more, you won't get one, or $160,000 or more, joint couple. Okay, now also read the article here. There are 2 of them. The first one is Senate begins debate. Pull this up. Senate begins debate on COVID relief bill after limiting $1,400 checks, adding new spending. Okay, that's from NBCnews.com. Democrats cleared the procedural hurdle on a vote of 51-50 without any Republican support. Why aren't Republicans supporting this bill? They talk about how good they are for everyday people, how good their policies are for African Americans. Not one Republican, not even by mistake, not even one Republican voted for it. This is for March 4th, 2021. Okay, then there is the other article here that, and it's the link is actually in this one. Limits to eligibility for $1,400 cash payments. It takes you to the article from March 3rd, 2021. Biden Senate Democrats agreed to limit eligibility for $1,400 checks. Okay. Now, in this one, it breaks down. Let me see. We have to switch over to this new one. Just a second on the screen share. Okay. This one, it gives the breakdown of the thresholds. So everybody can stop freaking out. Biden Senate Democrats agree to limit eligibility for $1,400 checks. The Senate bill would cut off payments at $80,000 for single filers and $160,000 for joint filers. Okay. So they have a breakdown here. Let's see here. Every American who filed individually and makes up to $75,000 will still get the full amount before it begins to reduce at incomes above that. But rather than zero out at $100,000 earnings, as the last bill does, the Senate bill would cut off payments at $80,000, sources said. Okay. For couples filing jointly, incomes up to $150,000 would still get the full amount. But rather than zero out at $200,000, the Senate bill would cut off payments at $160,000. All right. Now, so read the rest of this here. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Read the rest of that. This is from March 3rd, 2021. And I think that's all I wanted to cover in that clip, in that article there. Okay. We'll post a link here also. You can read this as well. All right. Hey, if you'd like this type of information, you can support the African History Network. $ the AHN Show through Cash App. $ the AHN Show through Cash App. Also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. If you do it through Cash App, be sure to type in $ the AHN Show. Okay, $ the AHN Show. And you can still register for the online course that I teach, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Okay, our next class is going to be Tuesday, March 10th, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll post a link here you can register for. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Okay. All right. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And we'll talk to you tomorrow night. Peace. Thanks for tuning in.